All right, welcome. See a couple more people joining here. Just gonna give it one more minute and then we'll get started. All right, yep. Okay, perfect. All right, we're gonna get started, guys. So we don't delay more for everybody that's attending today. Thank you for being here. I hope that really my hope today is that I provide a lot of value for you. Really, I just want to teach everything that I know. I'm not going to hold anything back. If you have any questions, of course, you can send a message, a private message there through the chat. And then, of course, if at the end you have more questions, you can always reach out to me and I can provide the information that you may need. Okay. Restaurant marketing is very specific. So there's definitely a lot of nuances. So we're going to cover a lot of those things today. Okay. All right. So let's get started. So first, of course, turn off your cell phones, social channels. Let's be here now so we can try to get the most out of this webinar, right? Or this live training session. And so take notes. Yep. So everything that you learned here, I'm going to send a recording and a replay so you guys can have that. But it is important that, when I'm presenting something that you guys can take notes and really just learn. It's going to be a better experience. Okay. So who am I and why should you listen to me? I've, like you, many of you, I've been in the trenches in the restaurant marketing, in the restaurant trenches for over 17 years. So started actually, or more, well, 2005, started, got in the restaurant business. So own operated restaurants, done all of the cool things and all of the not so cool things. Okay. Published author, we published a book called Restaurant Marketing Insider. If you guys want to get it, it's there on Amazon. You guys can take a look. Also was the head of marketing for hospitality group in Florida and operating a bunch of different concepts, multi-unit brands. So I learned quite a bit during my time there of how to do this properly. Okay. We have a track record, 98% retention rate. And again, guys, this is not to brag. This is just so you get to know me. And what I'm saying is stuff that we've actually applied, not just for our clients, but also for our own restaurants. So everything that, it's been implemented before and there is actual experience. Okay. And we work with restaurants across the US, helping them with their marketing. Okay. So let's move on here. Okay. Yeah. This is some success stories. Of course, some of our clients, we're not going to get into that right now. Again, what we'll cover today. This is important. So first of all, we're going to understand why each marketing channel is essential for success. Yep. Then we're going to get into also, what marketing channels you should be using for your restaurant marketing. Okay, we're going to go into those details. Then we're going to be talking about defining your KPIs. So then you understand what's working, what's not, where to allocate your efforts and budget. Okay. And then we're going to look at some live examples, some case studies, or some of our restaurants or restaurant clients that we work with. So you can see exactly how to do this for yourself, okay, in your own restaurants. Okay. Perfect. So first, I like to show this chart because I think it's very cool and it really shows what the entire journey for for restaurant marketing looks like. Okay, like all of the different channels, all the different touch points, and this is where we all need to be as a restaurant owner, yeah, as restaurateurs. Okay, and that is not an easy task because there's a lot of channels that we might not know how to use them properly, and then again, that's what we're going to be covering today. So of course, your social channels, you're looking at your organic social media, of course, you got to look at your website, paid ads, your emails, SMS, reviews, Google listing, right? And all of these things here, okay? Now, again, why is understanding each channel so essential for success? Well, first, you need to understand each channel because you need to see which channels are a fit towards your specific concept, okay? So you need to understand, okay, so what type of concept are you? If your audience is a younger demographic, let's say you're a young fast casual restaurant, okay, so then you're gonna know or have an idea of which channels you should use, okay? So a younger demographic is gonna be hanging out in different channels, right, in different platforms than an older demographic. So for example, TikTok is a younger demographic. That doesn't mean it hasn't changed. There's a lot more, the audience is a lot wider now these days, but still, right? It's a different audience. So that's why it's important. Okay, so maximizing reach, also because different marketing channels have a unique audience and capabilities. As I mentioned before, okay, Facebook's going to target or it's going to reach a specific audience, and then your Instagram's going to reach a different audience. Google is a different audience. Like there's each channel has a specific reach. Okay, customer segmentation. This goes kind of to talking about the same thing, is how you're going to be able to segment your customers between each channel. Okay, not everybody's hanging out in the same places. Okay, when we're talking about online, hanging out online. Okay, now integrated marketing campaigns. As I showed you on that chart before, there's all of those channels. Yeah, and you need to be everywhere. It's not one thing that works, is a combination of everything. Okay, now we're going to talk about where to allocate your efforts, depending again on your concept and your audience and all of these things. And then yes, there's some things that you're going to be able to focus on more, but it is important to be everywhere. So understanding how each channel works, right, is crucial to success. Okay. Now, adaptability to trends, as you guys know, there's always something new coming in or coming out. Sorry, in terms of a new platform, new features, all of this stuff all the time. So it's kind of it's hard to keep up, right? But it is important to stay up to date because there are opportunities there that we can take advantage of. And so it is important to understand how they work. Okay. Now, measuring effectiveness and allocating the budget, that's also super important, because if you don't understand the channels, then you're not going to know how to measure its effectiveness and how much you're going to allocate in terms of efforts and budget. Okay. So why do most marketing campaigns fail? And this happens a lot. Listen, we work with a lot of restaurant clients, and a lot of things that we see, there's just no tracking, right? They're running ads, they're spending money, and they're sending, they're running ads and they're sending people, they're sending traffic to their website. I'm not saying there's not a purpose for that, for specific things that you want, that you can do. But when you're running a promotion, right? For example, you're doing it, you're talking about lunch specials and you're sending them directly to your website with like no, it's not, so your ad's showing something completely different. That's what's showing on your site, because your site has everything, right? So all of these things are important to understand, because that's why these campaigns first, we're not sending them to the proper place, and two, we're not tracking anything, so we don't know if they're working or not. So no tracking systems in place. And then failing to understand how and when to use each marketing channel, okay? Because not all campaigns are created equal. It just depends on what you're trying to do. So you need to understand, for example, if you're going to be running a campaign for private dining, which channels you're going to be using. Okay, or if you're doing a promotion for Valentine's Day, it's kind of the same thing. Okay, you need to understand what channels you're going to be using for each of these things. Now, you need to be everywhere, yes, but there are some channels that you need to use more for specific campaigns. Again, it just depends on your objective. Okay, we're going to get into those details in a little bit. Okay, and then allocating resources to the wrong marketing channel. Like I mentioned before, let's say you're running ads for, you're running a special, right? A special for Saturday, whatever it is. And then you're trying to get awareness and you're trying to drive traffic through running Google ads. Well, that's not going to work because there's no search intent behind it. There's no people searching for that specifically. So it would be the wrong channel. But we see it, right? So people are just running ads on every platform and just seeing what, if it sticks. Okay, so it's really important that we understand that. Okay. So just so far, I know we haven't covered so much, but I just want to see here if anybody might have any questions right now. Okay, yeah, so I have one question here. Okay, yes. So should I focus all my efforts on Instagram if my audience uses Instagram more? Okay, Maria, that's a good question. We're going to address that in a second, but the truth is, no, you got to be in every single channel. But if your audience is an Instagram audience, meaning there's more people that hang out in Instagram, right? And it's you have a large audience there, then yes, you can allocate more dollars and more efforts to that channel. Okay, hope that answers your question. But we're gonna get into the details in a bit, and you're gonna understand everything. Okay, Linda here, what platform would be best to promote private dining? Okay, we take the leads that come from the site and we post on social media, but doesn't seem to work that well. Okay, so that's a good question too. Well, Linda, we're going to address that in a second, okay? Because it's a little bit, I'm going to show you how each channel works, and we're going to talk about those details so you can see what you should be using for that. And we have a whole training on private events, actually. Okay, will there be any explanation on how to track conversions on each platform? Yes, Patrick, we'll explain that in a little bit. I'm going to show you exactly how to track these things, and so you're going to understand how to use each channel and where to allocate your efforts. Okay, so what marketing channels actually drive results? Okay, and what channels to use and when. So there's a few questions here that you need to be asking yourself, okay, before doing this. Sorry, guys, platform's kind of jumping around everywhere. So these are the questions you want to ask yourself. Okay, so first, what type of concept do you have? Okay, the reason you want to ask this is because, as I mentioned, depending on your audience, then you're going to know which channel is the right fit for you. And again, you need to be in all of them, but where are you going to allocate more efforts to? Okay, so if you have a fast casual restaurant, it might make sense, for example, to use SMS, right, which works really well. That doesn't mean you're not using social, you're not using all of these other channels. It's very useful, right, and it has its place. But then SMS is a channel that works well for these type of concepts. Now, if you're a fine dining restaurant, you might not want to send SMS to your customers. It might, it's going to turn them off. It's not the right experience, right? So understanding who you are and being honest with yourself, right, then it's going to help you to define, which channels you're going to be using, okay, or to focusing more of your efforts in, okay. So who's your audience? Again, this is related to the type of concept. So depending on your audience, you're going to know if you're going to be hanging out on, you're going to focus on your efforts on social, on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, like whatever. Okay, we'll get into those details. So you have a customer database. This is super important because this is one of the most, I will say, this is the most valuable asset that you need to invest in your restaurant's market. Okay, and I see this happening a lot. A lot of people just don't understand the value of it. And so customer data is not just, you're not just going to use this for emails. Okay, it can be used in many different ways. Okay, so for example, your database can actually be set up on your paid ads campaigns. Okay, we're talking about social, and it's going to match those profiles, and you can target people through that. You can also create lookalike audiences. So then you're going to create profiles that are similar to your current demographics and to your current audience, and you're going to be able to reach people like that. Okay, so that's a great use of your database. Besides that, of course, your email marketing, and then you can do database reactivation campaigns. And then but that's a whole different deal. That's to get, for example, we're talking about private dining, is to reach out to them directly. It doesn't mean a design email like we usually see, but personalized messages. Okay, so there's a lot more uses to customer database that you might think of, right? And of course, if you have their phone number, then we're talking about SMS. So SMS is extremely effective for certain situations. So that's why, again, it's so important to be collecting data at every touch point. Okay, so if you have a new restaurant, if you have an old restaurant, it doesn't matter where you are, find ways to add more customer database. Okay, you could do that through different channels. So you could do that through your website. You can do that through running paid ad campaigns with an incentive to get people to sign up for that. You can have a loyalty club, right, or a rewards program. If you don't have one, you can create one. And there's a bunch of different platforms you can use for this to automate the process and make it easier. But again, you want to be collecting data everywhere. Your Wi-Fi system, also, I know that some people might find that annoying, but it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, they will give you their data for the right reasons. And the more data that you have, the more effective your marketing is going to be, right? And the cheaper it's going to be as well. Okay. So then what type of marketing campaign will you run? So depending, again, like I was talking about a little while ago, is what's your objective? Okay. It is important to understand what you're trying to do to know what channel you're going to use. Like I mentioned, the example of Valentine's Day. Okay, so let's say you're running a special menu for that day. Now, you can be in all your channels, which is important, but then understand that, for example, people will be searching where to eat for Valentine's. So then it will make sense to be on Google, for example. Then social, you can also get in front of people that don't know about your restaurant, don't know what's happening. You can retarget people in your list. You can retarget people that have actually been in any of your channels, right? So it makes sense to be in those two, of course, and the other ones as well. But I'm just giving you examples of specific things, specific campaigns where it makes sense to use different channels. Okay. Now, let's say you're doing, like I mentioned before, just a special for a specific day, then you're not going to be on Google, right? Because that's not going to be the right channel. People are not actively searching for that. So it doesn't make sense to be there. Okay. So that's why that's how you look at those things. Okay. Now, it is super important to track everything that you do, okay? Because once you, create a campaign, you're going to be on all these channels. Then how the hell do you figure out what's actually working, okay, and what's actually driving any of the results, if any, okay? And you guys are going to see again live examples. I'm going to show you the breakdown so you can see what, again, some examples of what works for these restaurants, okay? So make sure you don't spend any more money if you don't have the right tracking systems in place. Because if you don't understand what's working, again, you're just throwing money away and you don't understand the impact that it's having on the bottom line. Okay. So how do you do this? So there's different things that you need to do for each channel. So for your landing pages, for example, as I mentioned before, the people running ads, they're sending people to their website. Okay. So if you're running a specific promotion, you need to make sure that the ads that you're running, they're directing to a specific landing page that's talking about the same thing. Now, in that landing page, there's different things that you can do, okay, to track the results. Depends on your concept, of course, but let's say you do take reservations, that you use a system like OpenTable. So with a system like that, you're going to create specific tracking links and it's very easy to do on OpenTable. And then you're going to add those to the reservation button on your landing page. If you guys, of course, I'm not asking you guys to build a landing page if you don't have a development team, or it's because it's not as easy. But you guys can actually find, it's easy to find, just go on Upwork and find a developer and they can actually do that for you. Yeah, if you have a provider, then have them do that for you. So the nice landing page, same messaging on the ads, same messaging there. Make sure that you have those tracking links inserted into the reservations button there. Then you can also add a phone number and you can actually track it. You can use a platform like CallRail to track phone calls. So then you can actually even record those phone calls so you can understand how the customer service is working on your restaurant, right? If the people actually at your restaurant are actually taking care of your guests as you would like them to. Okay, so these are a couple of examples of how to track things. Now, and I'm here if we're trying to drive reservations. Okay, so depending on the type of campaign that you're running, let's say that you're doing a lead gen, then of course this is not going to work. Then you need a form, right? So that form should be on that landing page. The same messaging that you're running on the ads should be on that landing page. So it's super important. Every time that you're going to be running ads, not only ads, but also on when you're running a campaign, you need to have landing pages built for this. Okay. Because now you're running ads, you're sending people to the landing page. And for that specific campaign, you're also going to use that landing page for your emails. Yeah. And that should be a different landing page. So then you can track what happened from your emails going into that landing page. Okay. So all your channels, ideally, and I know this is not an easy thing to do, should have a specific landing page. Yeah. With tracking links and phone numbers. So you can actually know what's happening with each of your channels. Okay. That's the ideal scenario, and that's how you do it. Okay. Bitly is another cool tool. If you guys haven't heard about it, it's very easy to just go online, look for Bitly. What it does is creates short links and it can track what's happened to that activity. So for example, if you're doing SMS, okay, so if you're sending SMS, then you're going to be able to know how many clicks you're getting to that link. Okay. Now there's systems that will allow you to track a little bit further than that, but it is important that this is something that you can start using now. Okay. Google Analytics, of course, understanding what's going on with your website, understanding a lot of things that you're doing with paid ads, all that stuff. Google Tag Manager, also important. I'm not going to get into details of this because it's a little bit technical, but it's also important to understand activity, what's happening from your landing pages or what's happening from your Google Ads. Okay. Of course, Meta Conversion API, setting this up in your Facebook Ads Manager, super important. So you can whatever you're tracking there from your ads is going to be, so you can see really what's happening. If it's going to be conversions, if it's going to be whatever it is that you're doing, let's just make sure that that's set up correctly. Okay. OpenTable tracking links, like I just mentioned right now, super important. If you have a different reservation system, you can still do that. For example, with 7 Rooms, I don't think there's other reservation systems that are a little bit limited. For example, with Resi, you can't really do that as well, but it'll still allow you to track certain things. Okay. POS integration, of course, that's the ideal scenario. You don't see that with every time. But some people that do have, for example, Toast and OpenTable, those two systems communicate. So then you can actually track all the way to restaurant sales. So whatever's coming in from for example, the reservation that came in for the landing page, you will see how much actual people spent on the on that day. Okay, yeah, or that reservation that came in, how much that they actually spent. Okay, call tracking, as I mentioned, that's CallRail. So again, just to understand, how many calls are coming in from there, you can again record those calls and understand what's going on. Okay, so KPIs and metrics to track. There's a lot of things that, of course, that you can track, but just focus on the most important things. Okay, so First, you need to define the KPIs per channel. And that, of course, it depends on the objective. If you're trying to drive reservations, right? For example, like I said, for Valentine's Day, you're trying to drive reservations, then great. This is something that you're going to be tracking. Okay. If you're doing lead generation, let's say for private events, then leads, of course, you want to track the leads. And there's a lot more things you're going to be tracking there, like cost per lead, cost per click, and all of these things. But it is important, then again, that you define those KPIs by channel. Okay. So for social media, for example, if you're tracking organic performance, then you got to look at your comments, your share, your mentions. Of course, you can look at reservations, because again, you can still create unique tracking links, and you're going to set them up on every story that you post, right? Or if you have, for example, if you're posting just on your regular your Instagram, let's say you're doing a regular post or a reel, whatever it is, and you're driving people to make a reservation, you can still have it on your if you have Linktree, or if you're just putting as a link on your Instagram profile, then again, you can add it there, and then you can track reservations that come through there, because people go through all different channels to actually engage with you and make a reservation in this case. Okay, so if we're talking about reservations. Okay, email, of course, look at your open rates, look at your click-through rate, super important. We're not going to get into details of email marketing, because there's a lot to it, but just track those things, because then if your open rate is not great, then you got to be looking at certain things. If it's your subject lines that suck, right? So you need to come up with better subject lines so you get people to open your emails more. Maybe your deliverability is off, right? Meaning that all of your emails are going to spam. So you get to check on that. So if that's happening, there are ways around it. So you can improve on that. So you will need to create another subdomain, right? So you can use that for your emails, so then it won't be sending all your emails to spam. Again, not going to get into those technicalities and those details. If you guys have questions with that, just email me later, and I'll send you more information on that. But that's how it works. Okay, so you need to be understanding those KPIs. Social media ads, of course, clicks, conversions. If you're running, lead forms, if you're running lead ads, sorry. Now, if you're looking at reservations, then you can still track reservations that are coming through your social ads. It is important, but remember that, guys, that for restaurant marketing, it's not a straight path. Okay, so even though we're going to be tracking reservations that are coming through the ads and all that stuff, people might see your ad and they might not make a reservation then and there. They might see your ad and then just visit your restaurant later. Okay, so, but anyways, we need to track as much as possible. Again, this is not e-commerce. Restaurants are different. Now, Google Ads, same thing. Conversions, clicks, click-through rate, cost per click, right? Calls, etc. All of those things you need to be tracking. You can set that up on your Google AdWords account. And if you don't know how to do this, you can find somebody in Upwork. If you want to work with an agency, of course, they'll do that for you. Okay, they'll set everything up for you, so you can actually see all of those metrics, and you can see what's happening with your ads, and they should be able to explain to you exactly what those means and how they impact your business, okay, and your campaigns. Okay, SMS, clicks, right, calls, that's happening. Open table, again, reservations. Okay, so those are the things you need to be looking at. Like I just mentioned, this is not e-commerce, so you need to be looking at the entire picture. It's not always a straight path. So even if you have all of these tracking systems in place and you're looking at your clicks, you're looking at your open rate, you're looking at your reservations that are coming in through your marketing efforts, you might not be seeing the whole picture. And again, as I show you an example, you're going to understand this better, because with restaurants, people don't make decisions on the spot many times. Okay, this is not like ordering some pants from Amazon or something like that. This is something that you see, right? And then you might be planning to visit the restaurant at a different time. So you need to look beyond what you see in those KPIs, okay? So there's different things, of course, that you need to be looking at. And as a restaurateur, I'm sure you will understand and but you got to, of course, look at your overall sales for that day. So let's say you're running a campaign for Valentine's Day. Of course, you're going to look at your overall net sales for that day, see if there was an increment, there was incremental sales, look at a comparison versus last year and see how that performed. If you're a new restaurant, you're not going to be able to do that. But again, you need to look at the whole picture. Okay, look at your average check. If it increased or decreased, like what happened. Okay, look at your guest count. Also super important. Just pull your POS reports, and you'll be able to see all this data. Look at if you're doing something like Father's Day, Valentine's Day, where you have a special menu. Look at the number of menus that you sold. Okay, and you got to look at all of these things to be able to draw a whole picture of if your marketing efforts have been effective. Okay, and then of course look at your reservations and your ROI and return on ad spend. That's something else that you want to look at once you do this whole process. Okay, again, let's look at these case studies, and this is where it's going to become really clear in how this works. Okay, so it's one of our clients, Padrinos Restaurants. They have 5 locations in South Florida, and this is specific a campaign that we did. So they had an issue, right, that on Saturday nights, it was a little bit slow. So the idea here was to come up with a specific promotion that would add value, not necessarily discount, but people would find attractive, so then they can come to the restaurant during those hours and fill up those times. Okay, so we created this promotion called Noche Cubana. We're giving out a special. It was a station, right, with all of these offerings for a specific price. Okay, so now, what channels did we use to promote this? We used email, we used social ads, we used organic posts, we used the website, and we used SMS. Okay, all of these channels. Like I said, you got to be everywhere, and we were on the Google listing as well. Okay, so what happened? Using the tracking system that I just mentioned before. Okay, so for ads, landing pages, specific tracking links for each for those, so we could know how many reservations are coming through there. We're gonna look at reservations in a second. Emails. We were tracking clicks. Okay, there's a specific link for that, so we can know how many clicks are happening there. SMS, another link for that, so we can know how many people actually clicked on the SMS. The link tree, this is the one that you have on your social profile, so we can see how many clicks are coming through your link tree, right? And what people actually, went there for this specific promotion. Your Google listing, how many clicks were generated from that listing? Okay, from how many people actually saw it, and then how many people actually clicked. This is what I'm gonna look at, right? And then your Instagram, your organic stories, right? How many clicks did we get through Instagram? Okay, this is what we had. This is what we got for each of these channels. Okay, now this is the cool stuff. Now let's get into the actual reservations. What happened? So through your paid ads, there was 11 reservations that came in. Again, specific tracking link that you can create on OpenTable. You can create it in 7 rooms, or you can create it on all different reservation systems. So specific landing pages. So we knew that when people landed there from those ads, whatever reservations came through there, when you pull a report in OpenTable, you can see exactly how many reservations came through. And then you can actually see what people spent when they visited the restaurant for that specific, reservation. Okay. Emails, there were 13 reservations that came through the emails. SMS, there were only 6 reservations that came through SMS. Now remember, one thing I'll mention here, these guys have an older demographic. Okay. So, and mind you, they have a big customer database that they've been collecting for years. They have a good customer database for SMS and a good customer database for emails. But as you can see, emails were a little bit more effective, right? Actually, well, as double of more effective in terms of the engagement that people had through email. Because again, their demographics is a little bit older. They prefer email. They don't really like SMS so much. Okay, even though we do have a big SMS database. Okay, so the website pop-up, there's people that go to the site. There was 3 reservations that came through there. The total of 33 reservations. Okay, so now when we're talking about ROI, when we're talking about tracking, right? What do we look at here? Okay, so there's the 33 reservations that came in from all of these different channels. So there's the amount of direct revenue is basically multiplying your average check for that day, right, by the number of reservations. Okay, so you pull the report, you see your average check, you multiply by the number of reservations, and that's the total amount that you get. So there was $2,800 that were generated only from reservations that came directly from these channels. Okay, so as I mentioned, you need to be looking at the entire picture. It's not only this is going to speak to you, but you got to look at what happened in general. So you got to go back and look at your sales. So what happened here? So there was a 31% increase in sales. Yeah, so we're comparing the Saturday that we had no promo, and this is the first time that with this promo, with the Saturday of the actual promo, right? So we see here there's a 31% difference, and then with the reservations from October 14th to October 7th, in this case, there was a 30% also increase. Okay, so now that's telling you now a different story. Okay, it's showing you the actual results, and as you guys can see, the direct revenue that was generated was good, but the overall result was even better. Okay, because a lot of people that see this, they saw this campaign, they saw this promotion, but they didn't make a reservation through those channels. They actually just visited the restaurant, went there, and as you can see, this is what's happening. Okay, so you got to look at the entire picture. Now, once we saw that this worked and this promotion was effective, then we tested it again for a couple more Saturdays, and once we saw there was a consistent effect, then we started implementing in different locations. Okay, where it would make sense. Okay, so that's how you want to go about it when you're running a campaign. Test it, see what channels are working, see if it's working, and then make a decision if you're going to continue, doing this promotion or not. Okay, that means, of course, this is if it's a recurring promotion. If it's going to be something that's only one-off, like a Valentine's Day or Mother's Day, yes, that's a one-off. Okay, so that's not going to happen. But you can make the informed decisions once you have the breakdown of these channels. As I mentioned before, these guys have a older demographic. They have a big database in email, so it makes sense that for us to invest in ads is not going to be a super priority, right? Because as you can see, this is how much we spent on ads for this campaign, only 200 bucks. Okay. So generating those type of results for $200, I'll take it any day. So 11 reservations actually came from those efforts, but the overall sales were higher. Okay. So you still invested it, but now if you have a big database, you're not going to be investing in ads as much because the most effective channel for this particular restaurant is email. Okay. And we also have SMS. So we're using all the channels in different ways, right? And we're still using all of them, but you're understanding here that your budget allocation, you're not going to go heavy on ads because you know that your most effective channel is email and you already own that database. So you're not spending anything more than what you pay this email platform that you're using. Okay. So super important to understand that. Okay. Here's a more recent example. These are the guys are based in Boston. So for these guys, this is a specific promotion that we did, right? And these guys are a fried chicken place, well, a little bit upscale fried chicken place. It's not KFC. It's a sit-down, full-service restaurant. It's a beautiful restaurant in Boston. But of course, this made sense. It was National Fried Chicken Day. Okay, so we did a promotion for all-you-can-eat chicken for this restaurant. And of course, you can imagine the results. It was great, but and this doesn't happen every time. It just depends on the type of promotion that you're running. And I'm not saying to do this for your restaurant. I'm just showing you an example on how we track, how we look at each channel and how they work and what brings results. Okay. But this is a good example because there was a lot of engagement. Okay. Now with these guys, we weren't doing all their different channels. For these guys, we were just doing email, paid ads, right? The organic post and stories, that means that their team is handling that. And then we do something then we use our site. Okay. So what happened here? Now with these guys, we don't have open table. Okay. We don't have that system. We have a different system. We have Resi. So we can't track so specifically as we did in the previous campaign that I showed you, because in the other one, we did use open table. Okay. So when you're considering reservation systems, take those things into account if you want to take marketing seriously, because you're going to need it. Okay. If you really want to know what's happened. Okay. So your emails, in this case, they have a big database as well. They had 3,000 clicks. Facebook ads, they had 1,000 clicks. Of course, we did invest a little bit more here in ads. And then on your website, there was 92 clicks. Okay. So good traffic overall in these three channels. So what happened in general? Okay. So we were still, created landing pages. We're tracking calls. We're tracking reservations to seeing what's happened. So 2 calls came from those efforts. 48 reservations that came through Resi. That's a total of 120 covers. Okay, again, mind you, this is direct reservations. Okay, this is only the reservations that are coming in through the marketing efforts directly. Okay, so your check average for that day, well, your guest average for that day was 31 per person. So you just do you do the math. And so there was $3,700 generated from direct reservations that came through these marketing efforts. Okay, but now let's look at the overall picture, because the results were a lot better than that. Okay, so if you can see here, we're comparing an average Friday, because this was actually done on a Friday. These guys weren't open on the weekend, so we just did it for Friday. So you can see a comparison of your average Friday to, of course, the event day, the promotion day. It's expected because it was a good promotion, but listen, you can have a great promotion. If you don't communicate it properly, you're not going to see anybody in your restaurant. Okay, so it's super important that you actually do communicate this properly, you market it properly to get the results that you're looking at. That you're looking after, right? So here, your dine-in net sales are 11,000 for this day compared to your 5,000 over each for a different average Friday. Okay, so there's 113% change. Your check average here actually didn't change that much. It did change up a little bit, about 8%, but that's still money, right? That's still really good. And now we're looking at the guest count. There was 130% change. So there was a lot more people, of course, coming in this day for this particular promotion. Again, very effective promotion. It worked really well. We got the results that we wanted, and now we know again what's working in terms of the channels that we need to be using for these things. Okay, again, you need to be everywhere, but you need to understand the differences between each one, so then you can make informed decisions, okay, on how much to spend where, or how much to allocate efforts in where. So yeah. So I hope that's clear. So here we're looking at your return on ad spend and your return on your ROI. Again, we only spent $225 for this promotion. So we're generating those type of results are incredible. That's great. And yes, it was an aggressive promotion. It was very attractive. But if you don't communicate it properly, if you're not using the right channels, if you're not promoting this properly, then you're not going to get these results. Okay. So that was the results for these for this particular promotion. Okay. So what questions do you need to be asking your marketing agency, right? Or what questions you need to be asking yourself if you're doing this in-house? So first of all, you need to be understanding, okay, asking them what platforms and channels are they using, okay? Because sometimes it happens that they might be using the wrong channels, that they might not have a full understanding of what's going on. Are they proficient with restaurant-specific platforms such as Open Table, Seven Rooms, or AppFront, for example, if we're talking about, rewards, SMS, and other features that these platforms have? It is important that they understand that, because if they're going to be using that for you, if they don't have this knowledge, then they're not going to understand how to best utilize it, right? And they're not going to understand how to even track things. So what tracking systems do they set in place? Okay, but it's important to understand if they're tracking reservations, if they're tracking calls, if they're tracking lead forms, like what is it exactly that they're doing? And I see this many, many times, again, as I mentioned before, people running ads and just sending people to the website and hoping that it sticks, that it converts somewhere somehow, right? And then it's like, oh, or they're just sending people to their Instagram profile. So they're running all these reels that some influencers created, and they're just putting money behind it, and they're just sending people to the Instagram profile. What is that going to do, right? So how are you going to know that your efforts are actually working? Okay, you can't see, you really can't see anything. Okay, so what does your reports look like, and what data, KPIs, metrics do you measure? Okay, that's also another important question to ask them, because they're going to be able to tell you if they're just measuring your vanity metrics, like your clicks, your cost per click, and all those things, which are good to understand. And yes, you still need to measure it, especially at on the ads level, so you understand if it's being done properly. But at the end of the day, you want to see the big picture, right? You want to see what's actually happening. Like I mentioned, like we just showed in these examples, what are they looking at your reports? Are they looking actually at your sales? Are they looking at guest count? Are they looking at the stuff that matters to you? If not, they're just going to be delivering all of this information from paid ads, right? Or whatever it is that's happening in your emails, your clicks and open rates and all these things. But it's going to be your job to go in and look at all of those reports on your POS and really understanding what happened. Okay, so then you got to be you'll be doing a little bit of their job. Okay, so and then lastly is, do they have a solid understanding of restaurant operations and the business itself? Because again, marketing is not all created equal. And especially for the restaurant industry, if you don't understand operations and you don't understand how it works, then the types of strategies or promotions or things that they might be suggesting and trying to help you out with, they're not going to understand how that's going to be executed, and they're going to be pissing people off all the time, your operations team, because it's just not going to work. Okay, and they won't be speaking your same language. Okay, so what makes our marketing campaigns better or different? Of course, as I mentioned, we have over 17 years now of experience in the restaurant industry. We know restaurant platforms really well. They've been doing this all day, every day for a long time. And we've implemented these things, not just for our restaurant clients, but also for our own restaurants. We also set up tracking systems by channel, as you saw in those examples that I provided. So you can see exactly what's happening with your campaigns, and you understand, what's working and what isn't. We go beyond analytics. We look at what matters the most to you, again, which is your bottom line. And then also seeing the whole picture, the big picture, like I showed you, of all of those metrics that you need to be looking at. Okay, we provide a comprehensive reports, and we'll create a specific report per campaign, so we can show you not just what we're doing on a monthly basis and what happened, but we're going specifically to each campaign that we run, showing you the actual results of your efforts, how much you spent, and what you generated after that. Okay, we also provide, of course, complete transparency in everything that we do, so you'll understand everything from A to Z that we're doing, so you always have full clarity of what's going on and what we're doing with you. Okay, all right, guys, so that's it for me for today. I hope that you got good information out of this. Of course, if you want more details, if you have more questions, please let me know. I will definitely be happy to get you more information. Oh, Patricia, sorry, I missed your question. 199 daily? No, that was monthly. That wasn't monthly. That was just for that particular campaign that we spent the $200 for that specific campaign. So that campaign was on a Saturday. That means, so we started running that campaign about 2 weeks prior to that, because that's a good time to be running those ads. Now, we don't allocate all the budget from the get-go, so it's not so we start with a lower budget and we start adding more budget as we get closer to the event date, to the day of the promotion. Okay, so that's how we distribute the budget. So we're not spending everything at once. So you don't want to set up a lifetime. If you're setting up a lifetime budget, then you got to be, just allocating budget slowly as you progress, as you move closer to, then you allocate more dollars to that. But that was 199 between, within those 2 weeks, and those were the results that we got. Does that answer your question? So if we're looking at the monthly budget allocation, that's completely different. I mean, when we're doing paid ads, when we're doing we do a whole strategy for the month, and not just for the month, for the year, really. So there are some ads that are going to be running on a recurring basis. So those are going to be the monthly budget for that. Again, that's going to be your awareness ads and then your traffic ads, just to get, again, that's just geared towards brand awareness. And then whatever you have on your marketing calendar, which you need to establish. So for any particular promotion that makes sense for any particular month, then you're going to allocate a different budget to those promotions. Okay, so for example, if you're doing something for Mother's Day, or you're doing something, a particular day that you're doing a promotion, then you're going to allocate a particular budget to that specific promotion. Again, if you have a big database and you see that's working the best, then you might not want to spend that much on ads. Now, if your database is not great and you don't have much to go with, then you definitely want to go in heavier on ads. But make sure that when you're doing this, of course, as I mentioned, have the landing page, have the tracking systems in place. Not only that, but also have the right audiences. This is going to be crucial. If you don't have the right audience in your ads, it's not going to work. Okay, so a way to do this, if you have a customer database, make sure that you upload that into your Facebook Ads Manager. You can do that. You create a custom audience there, and then and do two things. You're going to have that's going to go in as you can use for retargeting. Okay, and then you can use that also to create a lookalike audience that's going to be similar to your profile, and then limit it in a mile radius. Okay, within at least just 3 miles around your particular location. If you have more than one location, then you're going to want to be doing that for each particular location. Okay, so a 3 mile radius, 5 tops. It just depends on the event. If it's something that's very attractive, something that's very unique, and that's a lot of people are going to be coming in for this, and they would travel for that, then yes, you can get a wider radius of 5 or 10 miles. But if it's something local, like I would just keep it to 3, okay, for each location. So you want to have those things in place, and then you can actually narrow it further by adding some interest, on your audience. So super crucial that your audiences are created properly. If not, you're going to be running ads, even if you have the landing page and all that stuff. But if your audience is not defined properly and you don't have this in place, it's not going to work. Okay, you're going to get crappy results. But anyways, that's how you do it. Any other questions? Okay, yeah, I see here a couple of more questions. Give me 1 second. Okay, so yeah, here's Charlie. I have a list of emails of some of my customers, but I feel like we don't use them much except for some emails that we send about once a month. Is there anything else we can do with this list? Yes, like as I mentioned, Charlie, you can grab this list, set it up on your Facebook Ads Manager to create your custom audiences, yeah, your lookalike audiences, and then also for retargeting, okay? In addition to that, let's say you want to do, promote catering or private events. If you have those, then you can use this database to send personalized emails to those customers, okay? That means something that's not going to be designed like a promotion. It's just going to be a simple email saying, hey, John, I know that you ordered with us before. Hey, listen, we have a special promotion now for the holidays, or it's just for graduations, whatever it is, it's the time of the year. Then you create some type of incentive that you send out. Hey, let me know if you're interested. So just something very personal, and that actually works very well. Okay, so you can use this through a CRM tool if you want to do that. So that's how you send, a lot of emails at the same time. So you don't have to be sending one by one if you have a large database. Of course, if this database is specific to catering, that's best. So then there's, people that you already know that ordered with you before, and you'll see that recurring orders happen a lot more if you're using the right data. Okay, so that's how you use it. Also, again, if you're using that data in your Facebook ads, not only for promotions and everything that you're doing, as I mentioned before, but also let's say you're if you're trying to run ads for lead gen, for private events, or for catering, like I mentioned, be sure to use the database that you have of prior catering customers or previous private event customers. You're going to upload that again to Facebook Ads Manager. You're going to create a lookalike audience only of that specific audience. Okay, so it's going to match those profiles, and then it's going to again create an audience that's going to be similar to those people. Okay, so the chances of getting leads if you're running lead ads through your to Facebook, then the chances you're going to get better leads if you do that type of custom audience creation. Okay, so that's how you use that. And then yes, one more last question here is, okay, do you recommend to open your profile on all social platforms, even if I'm just posting on Instagram? So Reggie, the answer is yes and no. So yes, you can answer. You can of course create your profile and have it there. So of course you're securing your brand name and your restaurant's name in that platform. So nobody else can take it. But if you're going to be creating these profiles, make sure that you're using them. Okay. So normally, again, not everybody has resources. Not every restaurant has resources. So you can be posting the same thing that you're posting on, on Instagram, on Facebook, and on TikTok if it's video. Yeah, and you can use tools like Metricool, Sprout Social. Just there's a lot of different platforms out there where you can publish all at the same time on all of these different platforms. So it'll save you time. Yep, but it's not the ideal scenario because each platform is a little bit different. So whatever content you're putting out there, it should be specific to each channel. Now that's costly because you have to create a ton of content for each one, but that would be the ideal scenario. Yeah, but again, it's not the easiest or cheapest route to go. Okay. Yep. And then lastly, okay, here's what platform would be best to promote our private dining. We take the leads that come off the site and we post on social media, but doesn't seem to work that well. Okay, yeah, I mean, your website's good to start. People, if they land on your website, if they see your restaurant, they know your restaurant. If they see a private events page, they might go in there and submit their information. But yes, you want to go further than that. And there's a whole training that we did that previously on how to generate leads for private events. I can send that link to you. But basically, yes, you're going to be using a couple of channels. So Google, because there is a search intent. Now the volume search is not huge, but there is a search volume for that. So people are searching where to have host or private events for baby showers, for wedding rehearsals, dinners, or for corporate events, all those things. So you want to be creating different ad groups for all of those different keywords, what people are searching for. You want to divide them up. Okay, so you're going to set an ad group for all of those on Google, and you want to do the same thing on social, creating different ad groups for each particular location and creating ad creatives for each particular group. Okay, then you're going to have different audiences for each particular group. That's what's going to happen in social. And then on Google, again, it's a matter of it's the keywords. Okay, make sure again you have landing pages that are built for this, so you can be tracking conversions, meaning some form submissions. And then on Facebook, you can use two things. You can use a landing page, or you can use lead forms on Facebook. Okay, if you're using lead forms on Facebook, the volume of leads is going to be higher, but sometimes the quality of the leads are not going to be that great. Okay, because it's very easy to fill out. So some people just with one finger are filling out their info because it pre-fills it. So make sure you add some qualifying questions there, in terms of budget, flexibility with day and time, whatever you want to add there, so that you're filtering out leads that might not be that great. Okay, you're not talking just to, you're wasting your time with bad leads. Yep. Now understand that generating leads is not the same as sales. So as the same happens with your website. When people are asking stuff on your website about, private event or catering or whatever, it doesn't mean that whoever's asking is going to turn into a sale immediately. There's a sales process to it. So even if you're generating all of those leads, you still need to nurture them. You still need to call them. Still need to sell. Okay. So it's important to take that into consideration. Okay. But in general, those two channels work very well, but you need to be, as I mentioned, everywhere on your website, be on your socials, be on your Google listing, have information everywhere. Okay. Because people are not hanging out in the same place. Okay. They're just depending on the person, what they're doing. That's where they're going to be. Okay. Okay, and lastly, okay, is there a way to know which platforms generate the most revenue and reservations? Yes, we use OpenTable. Like I mentioned, Maria, this is a good question, but of course, if you have OpenTable and you're tracking, you can track reservations. You can create unique links that you're going to be using again on your landing pages or your social posts, wherever. So whenever somebody makes a reservation through those links, then you'll know where it came from. Okay, and you can actually name it and you can see where it came from, and then you can track that. Okay, so that's how you use it. Yep. Okay, yeah, so that's it from me today, guys. I hope you got a lot out of this session. Again, if you have more questions, just send me a message. I'll be happy to answer anything that you need. Also, if you guys need help with your restaurant marketing, this is how we can talk. Just scan this QR code here and you'll go to a landing page where you can just submit your information and book an appointment with me, and I'll be happy to talk to you and kind of walk you through how we do things and if we are able to help you. Okay. All right, guys, thanks so much again. And Again, stay tuned for our next training that we're going to be doing next month. We'll be just be in the lookout for that. Thank you so much and take care.